have a right to know the reason for your arrest. Now, in terms of the police's power to arrest any individual, we must first look at what the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana say about one's rights and freedom. Now, under Articles 138 of the Constitution, we will find that we have embodied in that article the rights given to citizens under the Constitution to be free or to have your freedom. Now, you will find that your freedom to life or your freedom or your liberty is not absolute, meaning that there are circumstances under which that right can be, your right to freedom can be suspended. One of those circumstances is what we are going to talk about today. And that circumstance will be where the police have effected an arrest on you. Therefore, you cannot say, if you are lawfully arrested by the police, you cannot say that your constitutional right to freedom or liberty is being violated, because we are taken in for granted that the police have effected an arrest which is lawful. Now, the Constitution, Articles 38, 1, and let's look at 138, 2b, that your liberty can be suspended in order that the police would effect a lawful arrest, or where the police will be trying to prevent you or a person from escaping lawful detention. Now, so let us try to bring a balance to this. In one bracket, you have a constitutional right to have your rights and freedom preserved and not be violated. Under the other umbrella, that right that you have of your freedoms and liberty can only be suspended where a lawful arrest is being effected. Now, what is the police's power under the law to effect an arrest? We have to look at the Police Act 16:01. And let's go immediately to section 16:1, which say clearly, it shall be lawful for any member of the force to make an arrest without a warrant. There are circumstances under the law which will permit the police to effect an arrest without a warrant. Those circumstances, I will say to you now. One, the person who is being arrested commits an offense in the view of the police. So, as the police is passing or as the police is conducting beat duties, a person commits an offense. Therefore, the police can effect an arrest because the offense has been committed in the face of the police. Secondly, the person is a suspect, or there is reasonable suspicion that the person has committed a felony or has committed a misdemeanor. And we go further, that the person, the police makes an arrest because the person is about to commit an offense and there is reasonable suspicion that the person is about to commit an offense. Now, in a previous discussion, we talked about this whole issue surrounding reasonable suspicion. And we did say clearly that an objective test has to be used so that the police cannot, off of some form of victimization, decide that I'm going to make an arrest on someone, and that there is no objectivity to be established in terms of that arrest. Now, we want to get more today in identifying and discussing what will be your right as a citizen where the police is effecting an arrest. So we're taking for granted that the arrest that the police is about to effect is a lawful one. Now, let us go to the police standing orders. Yes, the police, they have a standing order, which is a standard operating procedure. And that standard operating procedure must guide every single member of the force, from the commissioner of police right down to the constable. It must guide their conduct because of the fact that the police are mandated by law to operate properly, and they are mandated by law to operate honorably, so that the police are not allowed to do anything that they want to do in terms of effecting arrests. Now let's look at the police standing order. Now the police standing order, and we will look at the standing order number 73. Number 73 of the police standing order outlines how the police must operate when they are going to effect an arrest. The first thing the training tells the police that they must do is that if the police appears in plain clothes, the police must identify him or herself, meaning that the police must present an identification card that that person is an enlisted member, to verify that that person is an enlisted member in the police force. Now, you cannot take for granted that a person who approaches you in plain clothes without showing an identification is a police. If you decide that you are not going to go with that person, the law will not fault you. The law will not treat you as having disobeyed a lawful arrest, because it is the police's obligation to ensure that every constable, that every rank in the police force going to effect an arrest in plain clothing must have an identification. Now, the coin shifts a bit if the police is dressed in uniform, and therefore you are able to identify the police because the police is dressed in uniform and the police carries his badge of rank. He carries his badge, his name, and he carries his regulation number. So you are able to say, yes, from the view of your eyes, that person is a member of the police force. Now, so if the police is wearing uniform, the police must inform you of the offense you have committed or is about to commit. Let me explain that. So where the police comes to you and to say, I am effecting an arrest on you, the police must not come and effect an arrest and stay silent. The police must say that you have committed an offense. And secondly, the police, if you have not committed an offense and you're about to commit an offense, remember the police will have a power to prevent one from committing an offense. Then the police must say what is the offense you are about to commit. So no police is allowed to effect an arrest and do not say at the time of the arrest what is it that they are making the arrest for. They must tell you. You have a right as a citizen to ask the police, if they are going to effect an arrest, what is the offense I have committed? And if the police does not say to you what the offense is, then of course I will tell you what will be your remedy later down. Now, the police also has, now if the police is coming to your home to effect an arrest, that is something different. And we will talk in a subsequent discussion, we will talk about how to identify a warrant. So if the police is coming to effect an arrest on you at your home, then we will discuss how the police is to approach you. The police is supposed to have a warrant. Okay? Now, if the police is under a standing order, is mandated to effect an arrest quietly, meaning that the police must consider the use of force. The use of force has to be very moderate, and it has to be regarding to the situation at hand. Now, the law would cover the police in effecting arrests to effect an arrest by holding the person's hands. All right, so you hold the person's hand in effecting arrest. Now, there are certain circumstances in which would require the police to touch other parts of the person's body if the person has to be restrained because the person is resisting an arrest. Then the police will have a lawful right to have some form of extra force used to restrain that person. But the police is not allowed under the law to beat the person up, to cuff the person, to kick the person, to pick up an instrument and inflict some form of wound on the person in an attempt to effect an arrest. If those things happen, then that arrest will be irregular. That arrest will be outside of the police operating procedures. And if it's outside of the police operating procedures, again, there is a recourse that you may want to take. Now, we have seen over time where the police have effected an arrest and persons have remained in custody for 72 hours. Again, in another discussion, we're going to talk about this 72 hours that the police tries to hold persons. But they are held for 72 hours and then they are released. And then, of course, there is no clear indication that the person would have had as to why in the first place they were arrested. Then the remedy that the law will allow you to have is to file an action for false imprisonment. So I have said to you clearly, if the police has effected an arrest on you in which the arrest can be determined to be an unlawful arrest, then of course your remedy would be to have recourse for false imprisonment. So the police is not allowed, let's say sometimes in the past we would see persons being arrested on operations and they are all siphoned off to the lockups and they remained in there from Friday on to Monday morning, and then they're all released Monday morning without a charge and without any substantive reason as to why they were arrested in the first place. Now, you have an obligation as a citizen to ensure that you cooperate with the agency for enforcement of the law, which is the police. You have a responsibility to ensure that the police operate and conduct their affairs in a very fair and proper manner. Therefore, you must not tolerate, you must not encourage, you must not turn a blind eye where the police are acting outside of the provisions of the law. You must make complaints, and I believe that there is two offices available to you. There is the Office of Professional Responsibility, in which you can make a complaint where a police has acted improperly, and of course there is the Complaints Authority, in which you can also make a complaint. If, of course, you are a victim in which you have been arrested without any form of reason or justifiable cause, then of course you can seek legal advice from an attorney, and of course they will pursue what recourse there is in the High Court. But ultimately, where the police is effecting an arrest, the police must do so in the confines of the law. Where the police acts outside of that, therefore, you have a right by law. You have a right, a moral as well as a legal right, to bring an action against the state. I thank you.